What do we think about this doctors' strike, then? Not in favour? No, yeah, I know. Well, we'll talk about it in a second because they were out on strike again today.
We're on the picket line today because we're striking for pay restoration and for training jobs.
Currently, doctors are facing unemployment. We don't have enough training jobs to go around. This year alone, 30,000 doctors applied for just 10,000 training posts. That means 20,000 doctors were locked out of a job.
It's just not fair to go through all that hard work and not get appreciated in the UK.
See patients who can't get in to see somebody, and yet there are so many doctors who desperately want to see patients.
Do they desperately want to see patients, though? Because, I mean, they could be, couldn't they, if they weren't out on strike? But anyway, they've just had a 30% pay rise, roughly. Has anyone here had a 30% pay rise in the last couple of years? Out of interest? No, OK. So apparently they now have an average starting salary of about 54 grand, but crucially, within a few years, they should be way up over 100 grand. Now, Wes Streeting, he's had a good week, hasn't he? He was out talking tough today.
Resident doctors have had a 28.9% pay rise from this government, and that's because I understood well the pressures that their part of the profession were facing. I wanted to deal with them quickly, and they've now had the highest pay rise 2 years in a row. That is why this industrial action is not only unnecessary, it is completely irresponsible. They are inflicting disruption and harm on patients and taxpayers who have paid for these pay rises and expect the NHS to be there for them when they need it.
But, as the Tories point out, he was very much on their side when he was in opposition.
The power to stop these strikes is in the government's hands.
I called them on day one, met them in week one, and in just 3 weeks, we negotiated a deal to end the strikes.
And what I cannot understand is how, after having had a 28.9% pay increase from this government, resident doctors are now saying we're going out on strike.
Yeah, he was very happy that he'd stopped the strikes, so today must be a bit of a shock for him. But public opinion, crucially, is now against the doctors. For pretty much the first time I can remember, just 28% of people now support their strike action. That is down, by the way, from about 65% a couple of years ago. In fact, only 33% of actual resident doctors support their own strike. And now NHS consultants are thinking of walking out with the doctors as well. Well, I'm sorry, but these guys can be on way over 200 grand a year, and that's before we factored in the pension, and that's before we factored in the private work. I think this is, frankly, probably the most middle-class walkout in history. I mean, it's the nurses that deserve a pay rise, in my view. The hospital porters, they probably deserve a pay rise as well, not these trots in white coats. But these doctors need to stop punishing the most vulnerable people in society and get back to work.